welcome to the Nexus Ag Update. I've got Chad here.
How's it going?
I've got Mark Meierotto. Right? Did I say it right?
Well, good morning, everyone.
Mark is with our grain team here, and we're going to kind of go through a little bit of grain, Nexus Grain, give kind of an update and kind of kick off who we are as Nexus Grain. But Mark, why don't you just kind of give us a little history of yourself?
I'd be happy to.
And maybe your role with Nexus.
So a little bit about me, everyone. I've made a career in the grain business. This is my second career. I was first introduced to the cooperative system by an academic in 1983. Took a tour of what was then the Boone Valley Soybean Processing Cooperative in Eagle Grove, Iowa. I was 18 years old, received an amazing tour, made an impact on my life. I kept track of the company, and in 1987, I joined that company and made a career out of it. 32 years in the co-op soy processing industry. I worked in the marketing department and capped off the last 15 years of my career with that company as a merchandising manager in Mason City. That's really segued into this role. I became very familiar with the geography and the landscape here in north central Iowa. And I tell the customers today that I used to buy grain from the local cooperatives. Now I buy grain for the local cooperatives. I was fortunate to be invited when Nexus was unified. I was invited to become the originations manager, and that is a role that continues to develop and build that brand.
Awesome.
So, obviously we have a lot of facilities with a lot of bins. I put a point in here. The grain division's more than just trains and bins.
Are you sure?
I think.
Okay, that's how I look at it. But I'm not the grain.
I'm not the grain either.
Yeah.
But let's just kind of go through what we have within the company when we talk about facilities, capacities. What we're doing with that.
So this is what I like to tell our customers. Our role is to serve your needs. All right. We have a chain of elevators, 22. All right. We're served by multiple different railroads. Some of our houses are truck in, truck out. Some of our houses are truck in, rail out. And really, from the customer's perspective, just know that we're doing our job by providing you with access to the greatest markets that are available to you. And we're here every day. All right. We do practice transferring grain from one house to another, again, depending on the opportunities that exist for us. And that is a very fluid environment that we're in right now. We take positions, we work those positions, we use our hunches, and the name of the game is to, again, provide value back to the member owner.
Awesome.
So we got 4 rails, and then we got 3 feed mills, and
that's right.
What are like our big hubs for grain?
I know where ours are.
I know where our agronomy hubs are at. Where's our big
okay.
Our grain areas?
Okay, so when I speak, and we'll get to this in a little bit, because you two are familiar with my weekly presentations, and I normally speak to the group about our terminals. I speak about our terminal bits. Okay, right now, that's the Iowa Northern, and that is the Marble Rock and the Manly locations, okay? We also have access to rail at the Stacyville location. And again, let's not forget the CP, red location. The thing about rail markets is that they're not there every day, okay? We are. And that's really a point that I like to make to our member owners, is that we provide liquidity where liquidity doesn't exist downstream, okay? These end users, these markets, they're in and out, all right? Our job is to smooth that out, okay, and provide a bid every day at our locations to the producer, okay? So it really shouldn't be important to the producer which railroad your grain's going out on.
No, absolutely not.
It's not. What's important is that there is a Nexus representative available to explain to them what their best choices are.
Well, and even, if I haul corn into like Adams or Leroy, most of that's going to go through the mill, but there's going to be some times where that's going to get trucked down to Stacyville or Manly or someplace like that, because just because you don't live near one of those terminals doesn't mean it may not end up through those terminals eventually.
And the point I'd like to make, you just mentioned a couple of feed mills. A feed mill is an end user.
Correct.
And I used to work as an end user. An end user will buy every bushel that end user needs and not one more bushel. Okay.
Right.
That's your job. And my job is to provide a market every day for every bushel that you have. There may be better choices, and I'm more than happy to point that out to the member owner, but the end user indeed will only buy what the end user needs. And that's why you see this illiquidity, so to speak. So-and-so is hot today. So-and-so, somebody else is hot tomorrow. These markets kind of come and go. Okay.
So do you get stressed out by the markets just like Chad and I do on this fertilizer stuff as of late?
If you're not stressed out, you're not taking it seriously.
You're darn right.
What I tell people is that the reason this is called a job is because it's not easy.
No,
all right,
not at all, not at all. And I was about to say, I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around some of this fertilizer stuff. Like my head is nowhere near close to how the grain functions and just a constant moving target, right?
Well, the key to coping with all that is to understand what the moving pieces are.
Yeah.
And to be able to read that. Not knowing what the moving pieces are, you're really not doing your job. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, we kind of talked about, some of those locations and stuff, and the mills.
Do you want to jump into some of these future projects we have coming on, like Elgin, a perfect example of expansion in Elgin?
So, all right. And I'm going to talk about expansion in general because I've already expressed my obvious age. When I first got out of Iowa State University, we were producing a specific amount of corn. Today, does anybody in the room here want to guess what the factor is today of corn production versus when I first got in this business?
The percent, like the percentage change?
What? Yeah.
How much have we increased?
Probably almost double.
It's double. That's what it is. It's double.
It was like 13.6 and probably about 7.5.
And I had the privilege yesterday of having lunch with one of our member owners and a son that's going off to Iowa State University. And I explained this. The thing I can't tell you is in the next 35 years, are we going to double this thing again? Well, there's no law against that. Okay.
All right.
And as this growth occurs, again, it's driven by downstream demand, population, world population, global demand for the products. More stuff is being made today out of the products we grow in our fields than there ever has been.
Oh, absolutely. Right. You go look at what corn was when you're that time period you're talking about. There's probably like two or three things it's going to.
Yeah, there wasn't even an ethanol.
You didn't
industry.
have ethanol.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
you go look at that. I mean, that chews a lot of corn for our market.
Exactly. And, in the 70s and 80s, you fed it to a pig, you exported some of your corn. Today, we're using most of our corn domestically.
Yeah, it's going through an ethanol plant or it's going through an animal.
Mm-hmm.
And then that animal's getting probably exported themselves.
and then, of course, the sweeteners market. That's the third component of that.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's jump into some of these challenges and roadblocks. Do you want to just kind of kick it off? What are you seeing for a challenge and roadblocks? We have some ideas what we put down here, but I just want to hear what your take is and where you're seeing the most challenge with grain.
Well, grain, again, there's a reason we have futures markets for grain, okay? Because you're always trying to predict the future. Right now, of course, the big thing, and I don't need to really overexpress that with this group, was the challenge we had just getting our corn planted this spring and our soybeans.
Oh, correct. Yeah.
Soybeans are much more forgiving of a planting window. Corn, the meter's running pretty fast right now.
Right.
So again, agronomically, we've had that challenge. We have an exceptionally large amount of old crop stocks that remain in our producers' hands. Corn that was produced last year. And as time transpires, less and less choices exist. Okay. We offer a variety of structured products that will help a producer navigate through that. Again, as as time progresses forward, the time value of these types of products decay. All right. And I don't need to get too deep in the weeds about what this is. There is no magic bullet. All right. We offer a variety of different structured products with a different amount of risk profiles. When I start talking about these things to certain producers, I'll get maybe get a bit of a deer in the headlights look, or, oh, I don't want to take that much risk. Okay. There are academians out there that have written books about risk. All right. And let's first talk about the amount of risk you're taking right now. How much risk are we undertaking by taking that one kernel of corn today, putting it in the ground, and expecting to produce an ear in October? Okay. How much risk is that?
That's a lot more risk.
There's none at all, right?
Yeah,
There's science.
and how are we managing that risk versus the risk of merely writing a call option contract and collecting some premium off of that? How much risk did you just take there and add that to the whole bucket of risk you're already assuming?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think a lot of guys, that's incalculable to some guys, that
it's difficult to quantify.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about the speed of markets? We get our, I sign up for our text messages of our updated locations and such, but
we get that 3 times a day.
3 times a day at least. And how many times did it change throughout the day? How, endless amount of times,
second.
right?
I mean, every second the board's open, it's changing.
The markets are live. The big component today that exists is the trade overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I know the agronomy staff has heard me comment in the past that is a terribly underutilized mechanism. We can see the market rally overnight while you're in bed. We can take offers from you as a producer. There's no cost to do this. If you're close to selling something, if you're looking for an extra nickel or an extra 10 cents, you don't know. This might happen at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're in bed.
Mm-hmm.
Show us the offer. We'll take the hard offer in, book it in, and we'll watch it for you electronically.
So that's what you were saying our other day on our call, utilizing that offer program.
That's right. And again,
and that's been used for a long time. I mean, there's a lot of growers that do that, but there's probably quite a few that don't.
There are quite a few that don't. There's an interesting phenomena that was maybe put into words. There's things that you've always known, but until you hear somebody explain it, you're like, yeah, that is the way it works. Most producers are more worried about the price of grain going up after they sell than the price of grain falling while they still own it.
Mm-hmm.
As a guy that does farm a little bit, I will attest to that. Yes.
And I would never ask you to explain that phenomenon to me.
I couldn't tell you.
What
I think it's just that perception that you're going to miss out on something, and it's like, well, I'd rather take the down, or worried more about the upswing than the downfall. It's like I've seen guys do that over the years, where it's like, hey, I sat there and I didn't pull the trigger, and then it's down 30-40 cents,
mm-hmm.
and I got to do it at this point.
So, Chad, are you aware that there is a mechanism to manage that risk?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
I was kind of going to ask you about that.
I was
about to say, do you want to go into some of these programs? I mean, you just did mention the offering program.
Let's go through the offers.
But what are some of the other, things that we offer as Nexus to kind of help mitigate that risk?
Sure. There's a lot of call option type contracts that we offer that are very underutilized. And what I was alluding to with Chad is, and again, this is a very old strategy. It's been around a long time, but sell your grain and buy a call option. This gives you the right to be long at a specific strike price or a specific premium if you're willing to spend the cost of the premium. All right. Everything comes at a price. And in that case, that's what the price is.
Yep.
The longer the duration of the call option, the more premium you're going to pay. Okay. Again, I talked about this decay of time. The more time you want to buy, you're going to pay more for it.
Yeah.
Okay? But that is a very good option that is, again, that's underutilized.
What's that average pricing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So
I'm butchering that. I apologize, Mark.
No, this is a we offer an averaging contract.
Yes.
The thing about that particular product is that just from a functional standpoint, we have to have a begin date, we have to have an end date.
Correct.
Okay, so there's basically an enrollment period which has passed. Uh, the thing that I would tell people about our averaging contract is that this really takes the burden off the producer. All right. It's day in and day out. It's hard to even sell your crop at an average price. Okay. That's one thing that I can guarantee you. And I had this discussion with one of my colleagues that, I mean, there's consultants out there that will charge you for this service. Okay. I'm going to get into this in a minute. We'll do this one for free. Okay. There's a couple of pennies that we take for a service fee, but it's very minimal. Most of these derivatives type products do not require nearly the amount of capital to engage in with us, Nexus, than it would if you opened your own brokerage account somewhere and had to maintain minimum margin requirements with any of your own options or futures products. We have access to we have greater access to capital, and we extend that to our member users.
I know a few guys that have done that average pricing thing in the past, and they kind of like it because, I mean, like you just said, it takes a lot of their burden, a little bit of their stress off. Am I doing the right thing, or am I going to miss out on something? And at the end of the day, they generally are a little bit ahead of what they would have been. They would have just pulled the trigger like they would have normally.
I'm happy to hear that. The thing that I like to express to people that are apprehensive is that you're going to sell this anyway, aren't you? Sometimes
you should.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's
you're not
going to
sit on it. Yeah.
Exactly. Not forever, at least.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
And again, this is a very valuable tool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it was exciting for me when we kind of brought it out. It made someone like myself that doesn't know a lot when it comes to grain a little bit easier, right?
Sure.
Because I knew I had somebody that I could call and would be by my side and take care of it.
Yeah.
So that really segues me into a comment that I would like to touch on with all of our producers. Probably the most important thing that I want to really need to drive home to people is know what your production costs are. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you folks sell the input products.
Right.
We have a nice little handy spreadsheet that has all the variables to plug in for different people. Everybody's numbers are different. Okay. What I believe that at least does is allows a producer to make an objective decision and takes some of the emotion out of the decision to sell grain. Because in a way, it is almost viewed as a give up. Okay, selling, and it really shouldn't be viewed that way.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I mean, like when we put together plans for guys on the agronomy side, one of the last lines on my sheet is like a per acre. So, this guy can figure out, okay, my post pass on the corn is costing me this, and my fungicide pass is costing me that. And some of those things like that. So at least they have an idea what their expenses are.
And that's critical to know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, get those few steps out of the way. And then, at that point, then they got to kind of figure out the rest of it from there, obviously. But, we've had some tools in the past too. I got some rudimentary cash flows that have, put together for guys in the past. It's like, okay, this is just something put together on an Excel program or something. This is chemical costs and seed costs and assume this and assume that. And this should get you kind of a good idea where you're at.
Back at Iowa State University, I was taught to call those spreadsheets enterprise budgets.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Oh yeah. I remember doing a lot of those.
and you should still be doing those.
Oh,
Hey,
well, yeah, I do. But
Chad, is it safe to say that you're a savant in that?
oh, cripes! So we're going to do that again?
As a
No.
callback from our last
It's a
episode.
callback from the last episode. No, you're right though. I mean, guys should be doing that yearly and probably monthly on all that stuff. I mean,
All the variables that move.
yes,
Indeed.
yes.
What do you want to let's kind of jump into something new that we're probably going to be offering here in the coming future, and that's a weekly update from you.
Sure.
You know, we talked about a little bit about how, you know, you jump on our agronomy call and give us about 10 minutes of information in about a 2-minute time window. And it's knowledgeable, and it's filled with a lot of information. It's like, holy cow, I'm going to switch over to sponge mode here because I better soak it all in.
Yeah.
Do you kind of want to just go through what you'll be talking about, and then I guess I can kind of run through where people can find it.
Sure. Yeah, a little background. When I assumed the role that I'm in today, I was invited to participate with the agronomy group's weekly management call and provide a grain department summary. And I was given that job. I looked at this and I asked myself, what do people that sell agronomic products and serve farmer needs, what do they need to know? They need to know the same thing and get the same message that I would give a producer.
Correct. Right? Yeah.
And everyone's time is limited. Everybody is focusing on how do I optimize the resources that I have, and time is your most valuable one.
Mm-hmm.
I've always tried to focus my summary, get it down to about 2.5 minutes. Sometimes I get more questions than the presentation really takes. Okay, and that's great to evoke that much type of interest. What we've discussed is taking this out online and providing the same comments, the same dialogue, making that available to all of our member owners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess from what we discussed earlier, it'll be offered on our YouTube page, which is Nexus Cooperative. But it'll also be, I believe, available on podcast platforms that you're listening to this on. But the biggest thing is it'll be kind of driven through there. You'll see Mark's beautiful face on that. You can see our, lovely face through our normal podcast, but it's going to be kind of more of a market update weekly.
Or we're expanding the podcast network. Isn't that kind of the name of the game?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And we get Mark's knowledge with it, who can explain it a lot better than you and I can. So
and from my perspective, the way we do business and the way things have developed, I can remember when 100% of everything was done over a telephone. Okay, that's what we had, and it worked. You would have discussions about maybe a previous discussion and what was said and what was listened to, and you get to ameliorate previous conversations. The role that I'm in now, I've learned that producers like to see information on their time. Again, everyone's time is valuable. An inbound telephone call is interrupted if it's a bit intrusive. People will let it go to voicemail.
Yep.
You'll never hear back. All right. I've yet to get a message back from a producer that I've sent a message to with market information that's ever told me, I don't want the information.
Right.
Everybody wants
like a text or an email.
Yeah. That's right. Information is valuable to everybody. All right. Whether or not I can be your best market today is virtually irrelevant. To know that I am available, that is critical. All right. So this is exciting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoy when, your little compressed update. So I'm looking forward to be, getting the full thing,
Sure.
And like you said, on my time. And what
right.
I was going to say earlier is, Mark, you say that, we have the agronomist hats on, but I don't know, over half of our sales staff are also producers as well.
Yeah.
So you get a little of both when you give your update.
Oh, I'm writing notes down.
I was about to say, Chad's writing notes down but for other reasons too. So
yeah, I got a little grain to sell.
I have noticed when I'm delivering very pertinent content, the line goes very quiet because people listen.
And they're sitting there writing.
Mhm.
I wish you could almost hear the scribbling, the scribbling and the pens and usually most of the time it's good news, but when it's bad news, sometimes I get joy out of watching.
Sometimes just as important.
Just throwing something down.
Yeah. But I mean, like when you have the supply demand, the monthlies, the the carries and stuff like that, and the planning intentions. I mean, we kind of have an idea of some of that, but okay, what's the technicals behind it? I mean, that's the part that a lot of us probably don't get.
Right. We know the number, we know the information, but beyond that, it's like
sure. And I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of farm broadcasters in my career. These people are not truly analysts and have never traded. All right. So know that when you're getting a message from Nexus Cooperative, you are listening to seasoned people that do trade the market. All right. I have my own opinions of some of these reports that came out. The last NOPA number was wrong. And I'm not going to get into the details, but we're either going to see some type of an adjustment or a retraction, or it'll just never be admitted to. But I kind of have my own numbers baked into these things. Okay. So yeah, this is a great opportunity for our member producers.
What I guess moving on from that, we've talked a lot about grain, but what is your recommendation, corn bean wise? I guess you want to give a little
let's
update
skip
on
like the 20,000 foot view.
So I did something in our weekly call with the origination staff. I did basically a surprise survey. Okay. And I went around every staff member one at a time, and I asked them, okay, what is your level of planning? Right now we're at 95% plus corn and beans. Okay, what's the emergent look like? It's anywhere between 40 and 70 as of 2 days ago. We've had some heat since then, and things move along real fast. But the critical question, again, it comes down to the attitude of our producer is that, okay, right now, trendline yield with corn is 181 bushels per acre. Okay. Mm. The last question I asked everybody is, okay, just give me a number on a scale of 1 to 10. What do your producers believe they're going to hit, plus or minus, of a trendline yield? What is your, on a scale of 1 to 10, are they even going to hit trendline yield?
Mm-hmm.
And
which is over 180 is right.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. And really, everybody views the market from their own backyard. We really are in a great position because we have elevators that stretch from Alden area with the Nexus group. We have access to other information west of here, but clear over east to Oline, and there is a tremendous difference in attitudes depending on how saturated you are. Okay, and that's what it really all boils down to. There was numbers from a 2 to an 8. Okay. I looked at it, several fields yesterday. It's very obvious that the agronomics is changing, particularly with plant populations and soil types.
Yep.
I looked at a field that I intentionally stopped at, and the only reason I did is not because I'm lazy. The field was dry on top. Okay. All right. That's a very well-drained field. Probably has a lot of sand in it. Stopped the car, went out into the field, and sure enough, it was a very soft, sandy field. And I did a quick plant population survey. And if anybody wants to know how I do mine, the job I had when I was in school was a crop scout. And some of these jobs, you don't forget how to do them. With a person of my stature, 7 paces is about 210 inches. You make a mark, pace it off on a 30-inch corn row, pace it off 7 paces, count your stalks back. First count was 21. The second count was 28. I called it a 25. All right. Mm-hmm. So I'm talking to one of my colleagues, and I said, man, I was in this really light soil, and this field was only at 25. I think that's a little light, isn't it? And he said, well, what did the stock look like? I said, these things were very uniform. Didn't look like it really had any emergence problems. I think this was just planted down a little bit. And we kind of got into that conversation about the different types of corn and how some of it will compensate for that and why you would target maybe a lighter soil. Again, I'm getting way deep in the weeds with your job.
Well, if you want to, let's go through that. I think you go look at what we were probably telling guys and guys were telling us, watch out for the drought.
That's right.
3 weeks ago, that was the conversation was plan for the drought.
Yeah. And that's lighter pops.
And that's later pops.
Yeah. And let me step on you just a minute. Part of my weekly presentation to the origination staff is the United States Drought Monitor. All right. The map that's published. And as of about 2 weeks ago, Northeast Iowa was still in a drought.
Yeah.
That was a very real concern.
And then we got like 3
inches of rain.
3 plus.
Yeah. No, don't ignore the numbers. I
mean, I would agree with you on that.
Well, what's the field day we went to, or you guys had went to, where we came back and we're like a negative 17-inch deficit at that point. That was before all this kind of came through. But I mean, okay, great. We got, we're at maybe 10, 12, 13 inches on the year already.
Yeah.
Well, we're still, by that math, we're still
about 6-7 inches behind.
Yeah, but it doesn't surely feel like that. But subsoil, it will be.
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Look how dry or how quickly it's been drying.
We got a little heavy inch. Kind of that
2 days ago, 3 days ago.
Yeah. Yep. And
Wednesday.
And we were rolling on sprayers yesterday.
Yeah.
With it.
So I'll get right down to my own analysis.
So what were you on that trend line 1 to 10 then?
5.
You were a 5.
Yeah. I was kind of in the middle. I see a lot of fields that, and I drove over west into the Armstrong area, a lot of corn underwater over there, a lot of potholes. Rule of thumb over there, when ponding exists, you're looking at about a 7% acreage reduction.
Yeah.
There's that much land over there that doesn't have sufficient slope to drain. It just has to wait for the tile to do its job. That's really where I'm at. But when you really look at the markets and what is being published for a corn carryout for next year, based on somewhat trend line yields, even the trend line yield would have been a 5, like in my book. So I think overall we're probably going to hit that number. We're looking at a very, very classic range bound market. Okay. And the charts show that. Okay. We're not looking, unless something weird happens this summer, as in we get flooded off the map in the next 6 weeks, or we get burned up in July and August, we're going to hit those numbers. Okay. And so that leads to, how do we navigate that? That is something that, again, can be captured with the time value of the call option contracts. Okay. I don't want to get too deep into that on this particular segment. I just want to express to everyone that there are people within the Nexus organization that can talk you through that. Okay.
Yeah. What
about on soybeans?
Yeah.
So soybeans are that crop, and that it violates every rule. Okay?
Oh, absolutely.
I listen.
I would say, on the bean side, it's not so much on the production side. It's probably more on the demand side and what the end user is right now.
So, okay. I've seen carryout numbers published for next fall that start with a 5. Okay. That's somewhat bigger than what we're looking at now, and doesn't really support the type of new crop prices we're offering, or excuse me, we're bidding. Soybeans, man, that's just it's soybeans in a way are almost worse than wheat to be able to predict what they're going to yield.
It's a cat. I've been saying for years.
It's like
corn is a dog and beans are a cat.
Yeah,
does what it wants.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll just go through this, my analogy. And It seems like you treat a dog well, you give it a nice home, you give it some nice stuff, and it'll return all that and then some in love.
And
You
don't
do
ever.
the same thing with a cat, and it's like it'll run away or something in 3 weeks.
Well, but on the flip side of that is don't ever let corn have a bad day.
That's true.
As if you
Absolutely.
have any control over that.
Correct.
Soybeans will compensate.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, you forget we got a cat. Oh, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we make our beans in August. Yeah, August is when we really make our soybeans. You can have a trashy looking bean all summer long. August will tell the tale with soybeans.
Correct. Yeah. How many times over the years, Brady, have you had the call? My beans look like crap in June. I don't think they're going to get that tall. They're going to be so short this fall, and then they're what?
Booming.
Yeah. They're chest high by November.
Yeah.
Furthermore, I would also invite anyone to look at the trend line soybean yield line versus corn. In all my days in soy processing, we were on the seed technology people's butts to put research into soybeans because the whole focus was about corn. And yeah, we were watching corn just year after year after year grow. And beans were just pretty flat and nobody was really interested in them. I think that paradigm has changed. We are seeing greater yields. That trend line continues to grow. The one thing about soybeans that I always told people, and hopefully this evokes laughter, but I moved here to Iowa in 2004, right on the cusp of what became known as the dot corn phenomena. Okay. And I literally had people looking at me with a straight face asking me, what are you going to do when people stop growing soybeans and grow nothing but corn? And I said, that is the least of my concerns because the bean market has always taken care of itself.
Yeah.
It's always given people a reason to grow soybeans. Okay. So,
well, this year's a perfect example of that, I think, right?
Yes.
Indeed. Yeah. I mean, we need a rotational crop. Okay?
Yeah.
Well, and we got a lot of disease. We got bugs.
Right.
I mean, I'm a little concerned right now on the corn side with rootworms. I mean,
bugs are going to be early.
Yeah. You talk to an exterminator or something, they've been busy as all get out and they've never been this busy this early.
Mm-hmm.
And
again, when you look at those that taught you gentlemen the agronomy trade and the science of agronomy, nothing really beats a good crop rotation program.
Correct.
Really, really gets rid of your problems half the time, most of the time.
It does.
What, so as we kind of like wrap this up here, Mark, I wouldn't say you have to give a contact information. We can do that, but who are some of the folks on your team that you maybe, we want to highlight right now with, that are in the countryside that are customer facing,
sure.
Like Chad and I and yourself,
sure.
who are some people that, that these customers can get a hold of?
The first people I really want to champion on this call, and I wouldn't be sitting here right now if it were not for Dave Quisley in Northwood. I reached out to him after not speaking to the man for years. He remembered me and hooked me up with Ben Bolte at that time via Field Employees. Brought me into the fold, and I'd been a little rusty. Okay. And I can remember having lunch with Ben when I was basically on an introductory tour, and Ben looked at me and he says, "Where are you at with this?" And I said, "Look, I'm here to prove myself. All right. I've been on a hiatus for a while, and you're taking a chance with me, and I'm not going to let you down. And I hope I'm living up to that." So those are the two people I really want to champion. My own boss, Brady Hess, fantastic person. I've known him for a long time. Now I have the opportunity to work for him and report directly to Brady. Exceptionally smart person, has an enormous amount of background in grains, way more than I have. Okay. People should strive to know as much as that man does about the rail markets, the export markets, the processing markets, so on and so forth. I'm not going to dismiss anybody else on the team. Brandon over in Marble Rock, great guy. We have Cheyenne, formerly from the Northern Country organization, Sean Maurer, not to be last, and then Tim Chicos up in Lansing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tim's a wealth of information.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, the thing about the group is that the world that I came from before this, everybody's kind of a cookie cutter employee. Okay. They're all looking for that people that graduated in the top 5% of their agribusiness class from either Nebraska or Iowa State. You're going to be taught what you're expected to know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And a very, very cookie cutter type atmosphere. We don't have that here.
Mm-mm.
We have an exceptionally broad range of backgrounds. I mean, look at me. I mean, here I am, an old man, and back in business here. Obviously, have something to offer. Okay, so yeah, do not underestimate the staff.
Yeah, I mean, just the names you rattled off. I think every single one of them is going to have a different background in grain.
Well, you know,
every single one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I unfortunately I'm still learning some of the guys on the other side, on the legacy Viafield side. But I mean, I know our guys on our side. I mean, talk about those three that you mentioned. It's like, boy, that's a diverse group between the three of them.
Indeed,
I mean,
so.
You know, I mean, all of them have varying degrees of life experience of doing this for a long time, and different viewpoint. You know, and you need that, you know, in this business, because I mean, there's a lot of different ways to, you know, to get grain sold. So,
right. Ready to wrap this up?
I think so. I don't know if I got anything else.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I want all of the users of this company to know that we appreciate you. We appreciate your business. So I look forward to getting to know all of you.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate your time.
Mark.
I'll hit you with our outro here. Social media sites, Nexus Cooperative or Nexus Co-op on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, formerly known as X, or now
Actually
the other way around, right? That's
Yes.
Twitter to me. Sorry. YouTube, Nexus Cooperative, and then where you can listen to our podcast is pretty much anywhere you get your podcasts. And then actually, we've got a player on our website, nexus.coop/podcast, and then find our beautiful faces on YouTube, Nexus Cooperative. So, and that's where we'll kind of target your updates. So follow us and subscribe to us on YouTube and catch our podcasts and catch our updates weekly on grain. So
looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.